Let's take a breath together. I was just allowing myself to be immersed in Gary's song and had an experience of Bishop Yvette Flunder, City of Refuge in the city in San Francisco. She did a talk years ago. Stop lying. Stop lying. And I think we're there. Today's topic is rise and reemerge. And I've been very much aware all week that we tend to think of the word rise from a place of first we had to fall somewhere. What if we don't? What if we don't have to fall down in order to rise to a higher place? Now, I know I'm not the only one in this room that has ever been on a diet and experienced that thing called a plateau, right? I don't have to put the weight back on when I hit a plateau. I can just rest there for a bit and then rise again. Right? But somehow we have gotten it in our collective consciousness that in order to rise, first we have to go lower. No, we don't. No, we don't. But you wouldn't know that from our experience of society right now, would we? We have gone to places that even being raised in the South in the 60s in Jim Crow, we've gone to places of hatred and vitriol that blow my mind. Right? And it's like, what is wrong with us? And spiritually, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's a challenge to dance with, right? I go back to my litmus test for living life. The whole purpose of Science of Mind is to reconcile the apparent separation of the spiritual world, which must be perfect, and the material world, which appears imperfect. The spiritual world is the cause of the material. What that means is it's the source. Right? It's the essence. It's what the material world is made out of. We tend to hear cause as blame. So if we want to blame the spiritual world, the physical world on the spiritual world, heavens knows there are lots of places we can do that. Right? We've all blamed God for something. But what we fail to do is understand that God is operating as us. As us. And so when we're blaming God, we're actually taking responsibility without recognizing it. It's a cute little twist there, but I hate to tell you, that's what's actually happening. We are spiritual beings governed by mental law. What that means, it's not government like we understand government in this human realm. What it's saying is that there are natural spiritual laws that we can't escape. Gravity. If you think you can escape gravity, I hope you have good insurance while you're trying to prove it. Because you're not going to be successful. Gravity is gravity. It is what it is. Natural law is what it is. And the bottom line is our thoughts create our feelings create our urges create our actions create our experience of life. That's how it works. Ernest Holmes goes on. We are spiritual beings governed by mental law. Only that world can appear to us which we mentally perceive. That's where our work is today, folks. We have to shift our mental picture of ourselves, of humanity, of COVID, of what's happening in Afghanistan, of a hurricane that is about to do what natural law does in weather, and the people in Louisiana who are in its path. We have to quit caring what other people think and get clear about what we think. There's an African tradition called Ubuntu, which literally means I am who I am because of who you are. You are who you are because of who I am. Now that's oneness. That's oneness. That is a belief that recognizes the wholeness of creation. That everything I think, say, and do shows up everywhere. Everywhere. This idea that there is an actual separate self that has an agenda that doesn't impact other people is just wrong. It's just incorrect. And we are hurting ourselves by hurting other people. I have had one of the most painful weeks in my 61 years on the planet. I have gotten nasty emails. And I don't even know who they're coming from. Because whoever is so dedicated to blasting this iteration of God with their stuff, they go through the trouble to create a ghost email account, send the email, and then cancel the account. On some level, I'm amused. On some level, I'm honored that they would take that much time and energy. But the vitriol is still painful. It is still painful to have someone say, I don't know if you've noticed, but you're white and you need to shut up about black lives. Ain't gonna happen. Whoever you are, wherever you are, not gonna happen. In fact, you kind of fuel it. Because it tells me I'm being heard. Black lives do matter. They do. And I would invite anyone that has trouble wrapping that around their mouth to say it, to investigate, why is that hard for you to say? Because that's not saying your life doesn't matter. But if that's what you hear, that's your work in consciousness to do. I've had emails telling me that nobody cares if I'm transgender. Great. But it's not true. Because other transgender people care. We have other members of this community, this Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, that are transgender. They care. We have families in our Sierra Center community that have transgender relatives. They care. Because it makes it visible. It makes it legitimized in this human realm. Because unfortunately, the supremacy that we've created says only one thing matters. And that's not accurate. Stop lying. Stop lying. I listen to people talk about what's happening in COVID and vaccines or no vaccines, masks or no masks, as body autonomy. But they won't stand with women on the power of choice on what to do with their body. Stop lying. You're not about body autonomy. You're about your personal agenda when it comes to the vaccine and wearing masks because you have interpreted that as a violation of your freedom, and freedom is not liberty. There is a difference. Freedom comes with responsibility. Liberty doesn't give a rat's rear end about anybody else. Stop lying. We talk about caring for one another, and then we behave in the most uncaring manner. Stop lying. Just stop it. It is more kind, more authentic, more in integrity to say, this is my personal agenda. I don't care how it impacts you. I am all about me because I don't see that I am connected to you at all. Just tell the truth. Stop lying. At least people don't have to be confused by what's coming out of your mouth anymore. Stop lying. Ubuntu. I am because you are. You are because I am. See, I can't say that without feeling something. And if you can't say it, practice. Practice. It's a simple word, but it comes with a vibration. It comes with a vibration that lifts you up to a different vibration. We are all just energy pods. I know we look like bodies, but we're just energy pods. Ernest Holmes used to call our human form our meat suits. Right? It's just the vehicle that the energy of the divine is traveling in. There is no separation. This challenge of oneness, that's the human journey right there. We can teach it a million different ways. But the reality is, we're just doing one thing. We are remembering over and over and over. We remember and we forget. We remember, we forget that we're one. That we're one. And in a world where everything looks separate, that's hard sometimes. It's hard when someone is nasty to you, to, as Julia said in her prayer, to look beyond the behavior and see God, to see the divine, to see Spirit. It's not easy. I'm not going to stand here and tell you this thing of spiritual oneness is a cakewalk. It's not. It is the hardest thing I have ever done. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Because in the moments when I get it, in the moments when I can look people in the eye and know that I am looking at God, looking back at God, and I let myself feel that, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter where I live. It doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter what I have or what I don't have. In that moment, it's that place in the serenity prayer where I am granted serenity. And in that serenity, I can accept the things I cannot change. In that place of serenity, in that place of recognizing oneness, I am the courage to change the things I can. And I exemplify the wisdom to know the difference. And I stop trying to control other people, and I just love. See, that what we're called to do, when Ernest Holmes says, only that world can appear to us which we mentally perceive, what we're being called to mentally perceive is the godness that we all are. That whatever it is that gave us 100% free will and never pulls away, never rejects us, never judges us, never condemns us, never sends us nasty emails. It just loves us. I want to wrap up with this. I found this writing that is just so powerful. It's written by a journalist. Now, don't be flipping on me like that. Okay, we'll do it this way. It's written by a journalist, Arundhati Roy. And she says this: what is this thing that has happened to us? It's a virus, yes. In and of itself, it holds no moral brief. But it's definitely more than a virus. It has made the mighty kneel and brought the world to a halt like nothing else could. Our minds are still racing back and forth, longing for the return toward normality, trying to stitch our future to our past and refusing to acknowledge the rupture. But the rupture exists. And in the midst of this terrible despair, it offers us a chance to rethink the doomsday machine we have built for ourselves. Nothing could be worse than to return to normality. Historically, pandemics have forced human beings to break with the past and imagine a world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our data banks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly with little baggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. Are you ready to rise and reemerge? One thought at a time. One thought at a time, folks. That's all we have to do. And so, what we're being offered is a consistent opportunity. I'm going to close with this. I was laughing with Juanita earlier when we got here, remembering the Fram oil filter commercials, where if you didn't change your oil, you could pay me now or you can pay me later. We can change now. We can change later. We're at choice. But we're going to change. So we can pay now or we can pay later. But we're going to pay. We get to choose how much. Let's take this into prayer. Knowing that they're infinite, this one power, this pure love, is the cause, the essence, the substance, and the activity of all life, living itself in, through, and as its creation. I know that I am that. I know that every living being is that. I know that everything that appears unliving is living. That consciousness must be in everything. And that everything is alive to the degree that it is supposed to be. One. That I am one with the sand, the soil, the ocean, the air. One with every being. One with all who love. One with all who hate. One. And so I claim and affirm that I stand that I am a visible marker, a visible activity of love, of oneness. That I am not knocked down by someone's opinion, that none of us are. That we recognize on a breath-to-breath, mindful, conscious awareness that we are God in form. We are life in form. We are love living itself. And so is everybody else. And so we look beyond appearance to the truth. And we rise from where we are. And we re-emerge loving fiercely. And that with every challenge, we meet it with a louder symbol of love. Until love is all that can be heard, drowning out anything unlike it. Creating a world anew. That we as humanity walk through the portal, free of the past, in a consciousness of Ubuntu, in a consciousness of oneness, in a celebration of every diverse, beautiful form of creation, all valued equally, no point of supremacy, because in one, there can be no supremacy. There's just the one. So grateful. I feel the vibration shift within me. I feel my heart open with gratitude as I say yes. 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 And so I let go. Because I feel within me, I know in a place that is just knowing that it is done. Not bound by the appearance in time and space. I rest in the promise that it is done. And so I let go. And I simply step into each moment of this thing I call my human life, bringing together the physical and the spiritual as one. I invite you, if you are ready, to rise and reemerge, breath to breath, that you anchor this with me as we say together. And so it is.